the long-awaited, for me anyway, debut album from Injury Reserve, their first studio full-length album. They have, of course, released a couple of mixtapes up until this point, both of which I think are absolutely fantastic. They have been a major highlight in hip-hop for me personally this decade. And in terms of hip-hop groups right now, no one's close. No one's close. Before this album, maybe you could have argued, you could have put the argument forward that Brockhampton are better. But now this album is out. Take that argument somewhere else. This album right here is fantastic. They have not sacrificed anything that made them great in the first place. They do not miss a single beat on this album from start to finish. The beats, just like they were before, are hard hitting throughout. They're really banging and off the wall and chaotic at times, I feel. And surprisingly, I feel as though at points they're experimenting even more than they were before. And this is a studio full-length debut on a record label. I feel as though that's very, very strange to witness. And even without all of that, the songs just sound friggin' good. Richie and Groggs are on fire throughout these songs, especially Richie. I feel like Richie has taken a shine on this album. Groggs is definitely very good throughout, especially on these slower, sadder songs, but I just feel as though Richie steals the show. However though, when there's a guest feature on these songs, the guest steals it. They steal it. You got Rico Nasty on Jawbreaker, you got Amine with his really funny and clever verse on Jailbreak the Tesla. You got Freddie Gibbs doing what Freddie Gibbs does best, just sounding like a hard as fuck, rough as hell guy that you just never mess with. You got Dram sounding gorgeous, absolutely stunning on New Hawaii, and you got Cakes to Killer coming through once again, collaborating with Injury Reserve just like he did back on Floss. And man, Cakes to Killer brings it every time. The only feature I would say that doesn't quite hit it for me is JPEG Mafia on his feature. But that's only because I want more of him, actually. I love his contribution with the get the fuck out, get the fuck out. But I would definitely have liked a full verse from the guy. But like I say, what he does on the track is insane. And one thing I've always thought about Injury Reserve is that they very much carved out their own lane for themselves. Sure, you may liken them to other acts in hip-hop, but generally I feel as though almost all of their songs and both of their mixtapes up until now and that EP they put out, they have definitely been very unique. They're not wearing their influences on their sleeve, but this time around I find it quite interesting because there are a few moments on the album that I do feel as though their influences are shining through just a little bit more. On Gravy and Biscuits, I'm definitely getting that Far Side feel and even a bit of Eminem coming through as well. And on the closing track, a good friend of mine pointed out that actually sounds a little bit like We Major by Kanye West, which is not the most prominent sound, but it definitely sounds a little bit like it. So this time around I feel as though their influences have come through a bit more, but it hasn't really held them back in any way either. Even when they're showing their influences fairly prominently, to my ears anyway, Injury Reserve are putting their own spin on it and making it sound fresh as hell. Can you point to any artist right now that comes through with a track as their lead single like Jawbreaker? There is no one. I mean, the spoken word intro from Richie is not only really hilarious, but also has a really hard-hitting line towards the end about the guy, the fashion guy that also had been accused of rape by multiple people as well, and just kind of shows a different side to Injury Reserve where they can get really serious, but at the same time they're so tongue-in-cheek and funny that I just absolutely appreciate the way Richie sells his lines. Even still, the sound of the song is really interesting to the point where it took probably 5 or 6 listens for me to finally say, I kinda like this. And now I'm at a point where I'm saying, I friggin' love this, but it's weird because I feel as though there may be people coming into this album and not really feeling what they're going for here, but I assure you, if you sit with this for longer than just 1 or 2 listens, I feel like things will start to click. Even across the album, there are these little quirks here and there that are just defining Injury Reserve's sound. But not only that, but they're also being incredibly versatile for them, so they're changing things up on almost every track, and yet somehow the album stays flowing really well. You could probably make the claim that it doesn't have great sequencing, but I personally feel as though there's never a point in the album where things are changing up too dramatically or a track flows into a track awkwardly. I don't know how they've done it, but somehow it's never a problem. You go from Gravy and Biscuits to a rap song tutorial, which is incredibly unique and an idea that I feel as though should have happened already in hip hop, and if it has, I've just missed it. But then you go from that really inventive track to Wax On, which again just has a very different sound. And then from there you go into the slower, somber cuts. They're emotionally potent. Not the most emotional this group has ever been though. I would definitely say Keep On Slipping and North Pole are the hardest hitting songs this group has ever made. But even for what these tracks are, they're absolutely worthwhile and still hit hard at points too. Grogs on these type of songs, this guy, man, he nails it. He gets the emotional punch just bang on. Talking about having to deal with the death of friends so suddenly that you just don't really know where to move on from there. It's really potent. And it's probably because I've just become a major fucking stan for this hip hop group at this point. But I just feel like anyone else attempts the sound on New Hawaii, they're not gonna nail it. But somehow here, the stan in me feels it. Just how smooth and soulful it is, giving me that kind of like Chance the Rapper vibe. But if Chance the Rapper had done it, it would have sounded corny as hell. But Dram coming through with that vocal performances, it kills me every time, man. You know that I've been on your mind sometimes. I've been on your mind sometimes. It's just so buttery and sexy and woo. And again, as I've already pointed out, this is completely new and different for Injury Reserve, and they're getting it bang on pretty much the first time they're attempting it. It's kind of crazy to me. But of course, with the bangers, they're nailing it again. Jailbreak the Tesla, very, very interesting instrumental on this one. It kind of shouldn't work, but it also does at the same time with the vocals as well, with the Jailbreak the Tesla. Koruna and Lime kicks off the album as well. Such an off-kilter way to kick off the album, I feel. But at the same time, I do want that track to go on a little bit longer. And actually throughout the album, I do feel like some tracks could just be extended a little bit more. Jailbreak the Tesla actually I think could have probably carried on. But aside from that, like, I can't really think of many other complaints throughout. Like, this is the album I wanted from these guys. It's just everything they're so good at packed into one place. Like, if you've liked their music so far, how could you not enjoy this album? I couldn't really imagine a scenario where you would hate this or dislike this if you've liked their work previously. Especially with the T coming through the hooks once again, the bars, the rhyming throughout is always on point. The production is evolving and evolving and evolving every time. This is undoubtedly my album of the year so far. I mean, we're only in May, but for now, yeah, this is my album of the year. And also from undoubtedly one of the best hip-hop acts around right now. And yeah, this is also my highest score to date. I'm gonna go 9.5 out of 10. Obviously, I think this is fantastic. They keep hitting it out of the park with every album. It's kind of crazy how consistent they've been. I'm just hoping to see them get even more exposure from this. And although they are quite popular already, it would be great to see them become even bigger than they are right now, because they deserve it, man. They really do. Yeah, 9.5 out of 10, as I say. I hope you enjoyed this as much as me, and if you didn't, let me know why. But if you did, also let me know why. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this review. You know that I've been on your mind now.